Today on Locked On Red Wings, Alex DeBrincat is carrying Detroit's scoring as we wrap up our midseason evaluations as well as do a brief preview of the Olympic hockey tournament.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. And if you would like to hear us ad-free, go on over to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer and sign up for the Everydayer Club. Again, that gets you access to our episodes ad-free, as well as access to an exclusive Discord server in which you can talk to each other and Scotty and I. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. And Scotty, we will talk a little bit of the Winter Games, probably in segment 3, as the men's portion of the Olympic ice tournament is going to get underway on Wednesday, the day people should be listening to this. Women's tournament is already underway, and we saw USA shut out Canada, which was awesome. Abby Murphy is
gross, dude. Absolute. That was such fun hockey to watch. Yeah, man, absolute electric factory. So yeah, we can dabble into that at the end for sure.
But before we can get into any of that, we do have to finish our midseason evaluations. And Scotty, we are going to lead off today's episode by recapping what we had done on previous episodes. So I'll do that real quick, just to let people who are unaware, who may have missed the previous episodes, for midseason evaluations, which is based on our what happened.
Reese Olson's out for the year. Anyway.
Well, that explains Justin Verlander.
Sure does.
Is it a
shoulder? Totally toast. Done for the year. Had surgery today. Anyway.
That explains a lot.
I'm about to talk about that for half an hour, so let's talk about some positive things.
JV's back. Let's go, baby. We talk about that. These midseason evaluations are based on our personal expectations for the players, so they may differ from you, the listener, but we personally have more Sider and above and beyond expectations. Simon Edvinsson, John Gibson, Emmett Finney, Andrew Kopp, and JVR in above expectations, Cam Talbot and Lucas Raymond in meeting expectations, Larkin, Aljo, JBD, and Rasmussen in below expectations, and so far failing expectations is Marco Kasper and JT Compher. We got 7 more players to get to, so let's not waste any more time. Scotty, Alex DeBrincat is who we headline this episode with. He has 30 goals on the season before the Olympic break. He is on pace for, I believe, 42 on the season, which would be his high with Detroit. Might be his career high. I think his career high is 41. It may be 42. I'd have to double check. But if he does reach that, he would be the first Red Wing since Marian Hossa in 2009 to score 40 goals. He had 39 last season. Where does he lie on here for you, Scotty?
I mean, I got to be honest. I think, man, it's tough. I think that there is this is another guy where he has been so good. I think there's an argument that he's been the best player on the team. I'm not sure it's a winning argument. I'm not sure that's one that like 100% of the fan base would get behind, but I think there is some sort of conversation to be had that he has been the best player and if not best, certainly he has been the most productive player, in terms of just producing goals and points. So, yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's just a matter of whether his expectations were "quote unquote" low enough going into the year to justify putting him in above and beyond or not. I'm pretty comfortable with just putting him in above. I think that that's kind of a slam dunk for me, but he deserves all the credit in the world. Like this is a guy that really took it in the teeth his first year in Detroit, and a lot of fans were really pissed off at him and. He has not only been the team's best goal scorer and has been now for, presumably going on 2 years in a row of being a 39 goal scorer. He has also been night and day better in the defensive zone and in the neutral zone and with back checking and everything. So I think he deserves all the credit in the world. I would do a whole show just dedicated to like how impressive of a season he's had. But again, it's not like we thought he was going to be awful going into the year. He did score 40 last year. So I'm okay with above.
Yeah, above is exactly where I had him too. Obviously, we had him slotted in for 35 to 40 goals. We were pretty confident he'd be able to achieve that again, and he's on pace for just slightly above that. But I think what really puts him in above expectations too is the lack of scoring from the team around him. He is very much carrying the offense, where Lucas Raymond's carrying this team's offense with his playmaking and assists, even if the 5-on-5 scoring hasn't been there. At 5-on-5, it's pretty much been Alex DeBrincat and on the power play,
right,
solely contributing goals. It's been his line and primarily him. So while the rest of the offense has dried up, you can almost bet that it's going to be Alex DeBrincat who is scoring in clutch moments. I mean, you think back on the stretch before the Olympic break. Now, they lost both of these games, but with the goalie pulled, who scored 3 goals? Alex DeBrincat scored 3 goals with the goalie pulled in back-to-back nights. Like, he has a little bit of a clutch gene. He's the only one on the team who's really scoring goals at a consistent pace. So I think just because of the team around him who's struggling to score, it kind of amplifies how important him being as good as he has been. So, I mean, I think that's the end of the conversation. Alex DeBrincat is above expectations as of right now. If he gets to like 45 goals, that's above and beyond. But right now, he's comfortably and above. Now, from there, Scotty, let's go ahead and move on. Next person I have listed here, it looks like it's Ben Chiarot, who signed a shiny new 3-year deal, just shy of $4 million per season. Scotty, Ben Chiarot's been abject to a lot of scrutiny from the fan base and ourselves as well, being part of the fan base. But this year, I feel as if he has kind of changed public perception a little bit on his game, even if the public analytical models disagree.
Yeah, for me, this is another slam dunk in above. And that's not to say that he's had some like transcendent, oh my goodness, he's, like playing prime. I get. Do you say prime Ben Chiarot like caliber? Like is that a thing that people say? But I don't know. But you get my point. Like this isn't like he's like turned back the clock and you're looking around like, wow, this guy, I want him to be on my top pair for the rest of the year or anything. Like it hasn't been sensational, but I mean, I do think that going into the year, this is how I view it. Very simply put. If he signed this contract extension in August before playing a game, I would not have been as in favor of it as I am now that it happened, 3 weeks ago or whatever, 2 weeks ago. And I think that is a testament to the season he has had. And I think for me, like it's really as cut and dry, just kind of as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, when you take in the full context of what he's been asked to do, I mean, it's either play on the top pair with Moritz Seider, who's a fantastic partner, don't get me wrong, but no disrespect to Ben Chiarot, we don't see him as a top pair defenseman. So putting him in those very difficult minutes has been tough on him. He wears it like a champ. He takes it on the chin, right? From the fan base, from everyone. Then they put him and Edvinsson together, not him and Edvinsson, Seider and Edvinsson together, putting Ben Chiarot on the second pair. And then they asked him, hey, we need you to be the workhorse for the second pair and help shelter a talented but very inexperienced and honestly probably very unready Axel Sandin Pellikka and try and do your best. And I think he's done a very amicable job. I mean, I think he's done a very nice job on the second pair. Given the context of, having to play with a super inexperienced, but very talented, want to keep emphasizing that, rookie and Axel Sandin Pellikka. And I mean, even then, like we were talking about, that's second pair is probably even above his station at this point in his career. And again, he has gone out there, played 20 plus minutes a night, and he has been their third best defenseman. Should he be the Red Wings' third best defenseman? Probably not, but he's had to be. And I know the underlying metrics for Ben Chiarot will consistently say that he is one of the worst defenders in the league. That's what all the public models say. Inconscionable is one of the things that someone said when he signed the extension. But honestly, I think that he's done a very, very
he's been serviceable.
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 Yeah. job for the Detroit Red Wings. So I put him in above expectations because he's been playing in a position that's probably more than what he should be. Yeah. And he's been doing it not respectfully. What's the word I'm looking amicably, I guess.
Sure.
Scotty, let's head to a break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation with Patrick Kane. Stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports that you care about most. FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating, races decide by inches. Hockey games that feel different from the opening face-off. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Scotty, Patrick Kane we talked about it on our mailbag episode on Friday, so we probably are just going to regurgitate a lot of what we said in that episode. But his on-ice impacts have certainly begun to shrink, right? We talk a lot about watching him with the eye test. He's a guy whose top speed and acceleration has continued to decline. He never really was a guy who got engaged in board battles, but even now, more so, he just kind of gets a stick in there and tries to pull the puck out, doesn't engage physically, and it feels as if it's becoming easier for other teams to knock him off the puck because they simply can just put the body on him and knock him off. But despite that, he still has on the season 32 points in 43 games played, a points per game of .74, which is in line with the points per game he had last season. He missed quite a bit of time due to injury, 2 separate injuries this season. So even though the eye test is saying his play is declining, his production is staying just the same. Part of that is playing on the power play unit. Part of that is getting secondary assists. But we're of the mindset we don't complain where those points come from because you're still contributing on the score sheet nonetheless. When we talk about Patrick Kane, where do you have him in the evaluations?
I think this one's tough. I think that there is a very real argument for below. I also think that there are a handful of people that will probably just say meeting. And that's more based on what some people's expectations were of a mid-30s Patrick Kane. I mean, all the things we've said a million times at this point in his career. But I think given the fact that they gave him, given the contract that they gave him for this season, I think it's very fair to put him in below. He is just a complete and utter non-factor at even strength at this point. And I feel like last year that was kind of a thing as well, but he made up for it by still being like one of the best power play weapons in the entire NHL. This year, he has been a non-factor at even strength. And while he's not like a slouch at power play, he's not as productive as he was, I guess I would say, a year ago. But as you mentioned, the point totals are not like completely awful. And so I think there's, again, plenty of people who will probably have him around meeting. But for me, it's at worst, it's one of those two.
That's interesting because I slightly disagree with you. I think he is meeting, and not to, because I'm not trying to contradict myself from what I said on Friday, right? A decline was, in my opinion, kind of expected. Like, this is a guy who's 37 years old. Like, at that age, especially with a major surgery, I know he says the hip's not a problem. So maybe it's not, and it's just, his feet getting slow as he gets older. But I feel like the step back in play is just kind of expected as you get a little bit older. And despite that, he's still producing. Half of his points still come at 5-on-5. I think it's 5th or 6th on the team. 6th on the team and 5-on-5 points. Obviously not great. Like JT Compher and Andrew Kopp have more 5-on-5 points than he does this season. But I think it's kind of a situation where you know what you're going to get with Patrick Kane. And he did take a pay cut to come back.
Sure.
So it's not as if he's making the same amount of money. So all that considered, I'm like, yeah, it can be frustrating watching him out there at 5-on-5 kind of get pushed off the puck or, have a play die in his stick because he just doesn't have that much speed on him anymore. I also can't say he's below expectations because I kind of expected a decline.
Which is totally fair, and I think that was kind of my point. Like a lot of people, going into the season probably anticipated that. I think for me, not that, I necessarily didn't. I think for me, it's more of going into the year, the expectation was you have 5 solidified top 6 forwards at obviously at 5-on-5, right? Like in your top 2 lines, you have 5 guys that you were unbelievably confident in. Those are the top 5 and will have the revolving door at 6. And I just don't, as you mentioned last week, like where else are you going to put him? You're not going to put Patrick Kane on the 4th line, but like it's just this weird situation, not weird. It's just it is a situation, I guess, where I don't think that he is a productive, like top 6 player for a majority of his 5-on-5 minutes at this point. And that, again, while expected, is to an extent, I think is still fair to point out. So I'm okay with meeting. We don't have to be like overly critical if you don't want to be. I totally get it. For me, I think, I don't know, maybe that's my own fault. Maybe my expectations were just too high going into the year.
Yeah, I mean, to you, he is Patrick Kane, right? Like there's a lot of fans who have that out there. Not saying that you and a lot of those fans have the same sentiment, but this is still a guy that despite all of the flaws that come with aging, certain things don't age, right? Like hockey IQ and stick handling, and that has not been able to overcome necessarily. But what's crazy is despite that, we're acting like he's an absolute bum, and that's not even the case. Like he's still on pace for 60 points this season. He is...
Yeah, which put him in meeting. I think that's a fair point. I really do think that's a really fair point.
Like it's an interesting conversation because the production is still there despite what we feel we see when we watch the games.
Well, I don't think we're like being duped. Like I think we do see what we see, but for me again, it really goes back to I think that this has maybe more than any other player on the team much more to do with what your individual preseason expectations were of him than the actual season we've seen because again, to some extent, he's kind of fitting the profile that we expected. It's just a matter of, to what extent we expected it, I guess, going into the year.
Right. Scotty, next up is Elmer Soderblum. This is a fun one, I feel, because Elmer Soderblum's only got 3 points in 38 games played. He was struggling to get in the lineup every single day up until the moment Jonathan Berggren was waived and claimed off waivers by the St. Louis Blues. Now he's pretty much an everyday player. You can feel his impact pretty much every single game because of that long stick. He keeps plays alive in the offensive zone. It's the same conversation we keep having with those bottom 6 players where he can keep play alive in the offensive zone. Him with his long stick, he's an aggressive forechecker, but he just cannot get the puck to the net and he cannot find the back of the net. I don't even remember where my expectations with Elmer Soderblum were, but I have to believe that they were probably a little bit higher than 3 points through 38 games.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
So, below?
I don't know.
He had 11 points. He had 11 points in 26 games last year. He's got 4 in 38 this year.
I think this is one where I just like bear with me here. I think it legitimately depends on literally what day in the preseason you asked. Because at one point it was, this dude's going to be the top line left wing. And that was literally a conversation we had on this show, like before the Finney, revelation. Like it was literally like, like Elmer might be top line left wing. And obviously that is, I don't want to say was never going to be a thing because again, it was a conversation point, but like that ended up not being the case. However, I think there's a lot that he brings outside of the score sheet that is incredibly valuable. So it's weird. It's almost like he's he's meeting in terms of overall value, but not in terms of point production. Does that make sense?
Well, here's the kicker. So his expected goal share, right? The amount of goals the team is expected to score, their share of goals the team is expected to score when he is on the ice is 52%. So they're supposed to outscore their opponents when he's on the ice, according to the expected goals model. Their actual goal share is 37.5. So like the way he's playing is supposed to dictate more goals than the actual result is giving them, which again is the conversation we keep having about the third and fourth line, is that they are winning their minutes in a lot of these games, but they're not scoring in those minutes.
Right.
And that's not helping them. So, I mean, yes, we had those conversations about Elmer Soderblum being on the top line, but I don't think we ever deluded ourselves into thinking he was the solution.
No, of course,
we knew that was making the best of a bad situation, and he didn't earn it. So I personally still, maybe if I'm just going based
a week prior to that, it was, is this dude going to make the team? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's
right.
I really do think that it's like the expectations for him just were a roller coaster of peaks and valleys so violently and dramatically from, 1 week to the next during camp in the preseason that it's hard to really even gauge, what expectations were. It just, for me, maybe it's just because like I love watching him play, but I'm not disappointed by his season. Those other guys that are in below, it's not that Larkin's season is a disappointment or anything, but like you are expecting more out of them. I don't think I'm like holding my breath waiting for Elmer Soderblum to start producing a lot more points. Like I think if he keeps doing what he's doing, I will be pleased with his season.
I don't know. I find it very hard to put a guy whose points per game is 0.08 in meeting expectations.
Again, which the points, I can't argue the points. Like that is objectively true. Like he has not produced points-wise what was expected of him. And if that's, in a nutshell, if that's what it comes back to, then like that's fair then.
If you defer to me on the Patrick Kane one, I'll defer to you on the Elmer Soderblum one.
No, we can leave him below. That's fine.
All right. Cool. I got my way. Anyways, Scotty, let's head to another break. When we return, we'll wrap up with the last three players on our midseason evaluations. Stay tuned. Segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our businesses and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. You're going to love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNHL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNHL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Quo.
It's like all you can say. Quo. No fun way to twist that one for you, huh? All right. Next up, we got a newcomer in Mason Appleton. He's got 11 points in 48 games played. Another guy who plays PK for the Detroit Red Wings. He had 22 points in 71 games. He's got 11 points through 48 games. He's got a couple clutch goals. I think Mason Appleton's kind of been exactly what you assigned him to be, which is a bottom 6 penalty killer.
Yeah, no rebuttal there. I think this is kind of a slam dunk meeting expectations. He has not been a disappointment. He should be in the lineup card every night, and he does what we expected him to do, which is not produce a lot of points, but be a solid defensive forward. And as you said, a penalty kill guy.
All right. And that brings us to our last two defensemen. Do you want to do Travis Hamonic or Axel Sandin-Pellikka first?
I want to end with ASP.
Okay. Hamonic's an interesting one because he is the new scapegoat for Detroit Red Wings fans. We had heard a lot from
not Petrie
Ottawa
anymore,
Senators.
So it's got to be
Petrie,
someone else.
Travis Hamonic. We had heard a lot from Ottawa Senators fans about how fun this guy was to watch. And I think a lot of Red Wings fans clung on to that. I think, to be fair to Travis Hamonic, expectations were pretty low for him coming in. Has he sunk below our expectations? It's one of those things where like the bar is pretty low, so is he still falling short of that? He's not playing every day. Like, he's in and out in the lineup. He's a seventh D man, so depending on who's... And it's funny, he only plays, barring injury, he only plays if he's in the lineup when the Red Wings start a win streak. And vice versa with JBD. Like, if JBD's in the lineup when the Red Wings start a win streak, JBD's playing. So, he hasn't been great, but we also didn't expect him to be great.
Yeah, this is one of those tough ones where you put him in meeting or maybe even just below, and somebody who doesn't understand the context of the lists or like how we do the tiers looks at and is like, oh my goodness, they put Larkin and like him, or you put Hamonic above Larkin, like how dare you, right? Like I don't know. I honestly am not too passionate about it either way. I think he has been like role wise what we expected him to be, but I also think that there was somewhat of a hope that anyone would cling on to like the third pair spot, and he certainly has not like just taken that by charge and been good enough to solidify himself there. So I don't know. I really could go with either. Like I said, I'm not too terribly passionate about either.
I'll put him in below expectations just for the sake of keeping the peace.
For sure.
Fun fact, he's the same points per game as Elmer Soderblum, 0.08.
There you go. One has maybe the best mustache in the entire NHL.
He does.
So.
I mean, he should get points for that mustache.
That's what I'm saying.
It's incredible.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
below.
I'm
good with below. I'm good.
Yeah, he's fine. He is what we expected him to be. He is who we thought he is. Axel Sandin-Pellikka is the last guy we got. Kind of did not mean to do it this way. Like, I'm really basically just going based on who was next on the list. And he has had a turbulent year. He's had some highs, some really high IQ plays leading to beautiful goals. He's had some pretty bad lows. He's a rookie, but a prospect that a lot of people had high hopes for. Where do you have him ranked?
Yeah, to be honest with you, to me, this is I feel very strongly about meeting expectations for him. Wow. I think that, again, maybe this is like depending on what week in August you ask, you'll get a different answer. But I think that this is a rookie that, I mean, we consistently talked about, like, he's a rookie. There's going to be ebbs and flows, whatever. Like, I think it's unfair to sit here in February and be like, yeah, like he's not playing, 20 minutes a night, so it's a failure of a season or whatever. Like he's an offensive defenseman that is in his, first taste in the NHL. And on top of that, this is a guy that in July we didn't think was making the team. We didn't think he was making the team until he made the team. This was like a huge surprise. He was not supposed to be here really at all this year, period. And if he did, it was supposed to be like a mid-season, depth type of move. He got called up and has stayed here all year. And yes, there have been a ton of struggles, but I think it's ridiculous to not have like somewhat expected those struggles, especially in the defensive zone to an extent. I mean, in terms of like the deployment and the sheltering him, like the coaching staff knows what he's good at and is trying to put him in situations to succeed. I'm not saying it's been sunshine and rainbows. I'm not saying he's been great. Again, I'm not trying to put him in above and beyond or anything like that and say that he's been this huge revelation that's been way better than I thought. But I know that a lot of people are going to be on the train of like putting him in below expectations, and I just adamantly disagree with that.
You know, I think you won me over. I was going to be somebody who thought maybe below expectations, but you are right. I think maybe along the way in preseason, we got a little bit hooked on the hype train, because we didn't expect him to make the team. But that's exactly it. We didn't expect him to make the team because we saw those flaws. We saw him in a short stint at Grand Rapids. We said during the offseason, if he makes the team, it's going to be because he put on a lot of muscle and he really improved his defensive game. And he made the team despite those things.
Right, he didn't do those things.
He didn't really do those things. He still gets bullied in the defensive zone. He's still not very strong yet. Again, this is not me saying Axel Sandin Pellick is a bust. I think this kid has an incredibly high ceiling as an offensive defenseman. But I also don't think he is ready. And I held that belief in preseason. Despite that, they're putting him in second pair minutes that have been more sheltered and have seen him not play large swaths of periods as we've come down the stretch here up until the Olympic break. But I think you're right. I think this is meeting expectations because we expected him to struggle. Again, those flashes that he shows are legit. That hockey IQ, when he gets his confidence under him and he starts skating the puck up the ice or he starts making moves at the blue line to create space and set up offensive plays, that's real. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
But he's got to get stronger, and really, I think it just comes down to he's got to get stronger. I think he'll get better defensively if he just gets stronger.
Yeah.
And that's because he's 20 years old.
Right. He ultimately, like, this is a guy that I think, again, based on, the conversations you and I at least were having in July and August, like, in a perfect world, probably isn't here right now. And, like, probably doesn't make the team out of camp. But, like, they were so thin at the blue line, you had to do what you had to do. And they have made the best of this situation that he finds himself in. I truly believe that. So it's a conversation with a ton of nuance. But again, for as obvious as it is that he's not above expectations, I am going to put my foot down a little bit and be more aggressive on not putting him in below either.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Scotty, that's it for our midseason evaluations. I'll tweet out the whole graphic tomorrow. You guys can make your own. Let me stop sharing my screen. We're already over time, so very quickly here. Not really much of an Olympic men's preview. I apologize. But who do you have winning medals with the Detroit Red Wings and the Detroit Red Wings? Sorry, because I'm trying to multitask.
Dylan Larkin,
yeah. In the men's Olympic Games, what teams do you have, and do you have a dark horse?
I don't know about like I don't really have a dark horse. No, I think it's going to be kind of the usual suspects, which is a lame answer. But I do think we were kind of talking about it off air. I think Germany's team is kind of interesting just because of its personnel. Mm-hmm. It's two of the best players. I think it's fair to say in the world. I think it's fair to put Seider in that conversation at this point. It's Tim Stützle, who's obviously an incredible young player as well. And then there's just like not a whole lot of literally anything outside of those kind of top three pillars that they have. So I don't think they just ultimately don't have the depth to beat any of like the big dogs, but I am kind of interested. I guess I'll just put it that way in how they do. I'm really just pulling for a Canada-U.S. gold medal match. I just think that's what the world needs at this point. So I will be weirdly rooting for. Now, if Canada crashes and burns, we're gonna, we're gonna take our victory lap and point fun. But I would love a gold medal match between those two. And then we talked about it before we hit record. We were talking about the women's tournament as well. USA looked absolutely phenomenal on Tuesday. So that's really exciting. And hopefully USA can bag, 2 gold medals in hockey this year.
Yeah, first time the women's Canada team has ever been shut out in the Olympics, I do believe is what I had read.
Which is crazy. And it's Dude, that was that was a
game.
profound statement victory. And that rivalry on the women's side is just as big, if not, bigger than the men's side. That is a vicious rivalry as well.
So very quickly here are my bullet point thoughts. I have USA winning the gold. I think that, and it pains me to say this in a way, and that doesn't pain me to say that my team's going to win, that my country's going to win gold, but because of how Bill Guerin built it, and I don't want to give him credit. He left off Robertson as well as Caulfield and DeBrincat, who are 3 of the top 5 U.S.-born goal scorers this season. But I feel like they are built for this smaller ice surface. Canada's absolutely more star-studded, let's not get it wrong, but USA's got much better goaltending. Now, Canada does have Logan Thompson, but will they rely on Logan Thompson? They tend to like to lean on Jordan Binnington, who's had a very bad season, but tends to step up in international play. I think it does come down to...
That doesn't even matter.
I think it comes down to...
big game Benny. He's going to show up in the second that he puts on that flag and wears that jersey, he's going to, come to his senses.
I think that this is a Team USA team that is going to thrive on the slightly smaller ice surface. I do think, though, I would not be surprised whatsoever if Canada wins gold. Would not surprise me in the least. But I do have Canada coming in with silver. I have Sweden in bronze, pretty chalk, to be honest. If I were to pick dark horses, I would say Sweden is my dark horse to win gold. It's not much of a dark horse. They're the 3rd best team in the tournament, pretty much. Lucas Raymond's going to play Italy tomorrow to kick things off for the men's Olympic side, and he's going to have 8 points against Team Italy, playing on the top line. I do think that Germany, though, it's a good shout out as a dark horse to make a medal game, let's say. Not win a medal, but like make a bronze medal game. And that's simply just because they're so top heavy. The rest of that lineup, they're not that great. They play very good structured hockey, which is what they're going to have to rely on because they're not very deep. But you got Mort Seider, who's wearing an A for Team Germany, by the way. Leon Draisaitl as captain, and Tim Stützle is also wearing an A. So that's my fun, don't throw that in their hat in the ring just to see what happens. But sure. Finland's also a pretty good team. Have one of the best jerseys in the tournament, to be honest. Did you see their dark uniforms today? They're silky. I love them so much. So that's my quick thoughts. I think USA gold, Canada silver, Sweden bronze. Sweden's my dark horse for gold, though, and Team Germany is my dark horse to make a medal game.
Beauty.
There we go. Quick thoughts. Long episode. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll begin recapping men's hockey games as well as giving you other, Red Wings content amongst the break. Stay tuned for that on tomorrow's episode. Same time, same place. Your team every day.